All right, we had a story we wanted to take a closer look at, and it involves AI. I know we don't talk enough about AI around here, but more importantly, it talks about regulations with AI because the world's leading internet firms are actively collaborating with regulators in the European Union to ensure compliance with the bloc's stringent data protection rules. According to Ireland's Data Protection Commission, which serves as the lead EU regulator for a majority of tech companies out there, like Alphabet, Google, Meta, Microsoft, TikTok, OpenAI, and any other alphabet soups that you want to come up with. The firms are starting to take extensive measures to ensure that their artificial intelligence products do not violate data privacy regulations. Wow, that's a shock. Now, Ariane, is the EU governmental involvement in this a good or a bad thing? And what other EU regulations could potentially be impacted by this?
So, first of all, yes. I think the EU should definitely be involved in this um, for multiple reasons. But for making sure that you have a understanding, let's put it that way, with the big competitors in this market is a good thing. Um, I don't think it should always be pushed down. Let's put it that way, that it always has to come from the European Union saying you have to do it this way, especially because um, the big companies that you already mentioned have some very intelligent people working for them, knowing what they're doing and knowing what they're building and talking with them and making sure that you get on a same playing field and making sure that you know what they're doing and creating regulation around that is what's really important. I've heard multiple of my customers talking about we are going to utilize AI, but then when they hear, especially I think about a year ago when OpenAI got bigger and bigger, when they heard that if you put your data within ChatGPT and then the data was from OpenAI, and people were like, "Wait, what?" So if I put my data with OpenAI, it's their data. It's not our data anymore. What would the impact be if you're a company in the Netherlands doing finance or healthcare or social security or whatever? The things that would happen to the data, and we already talked about it. You already mentioned it. Um, Data is probably the new oil or the new gold or whatever you want to call it, right? It's the worth of data is so big that you really want to make sure that your data is your data. And so data collection is really important, and that needs to be regulated through whatever is decided by the European Union regulators, but it needs to be done within those companies, right? The rights, the individual rights, the data rights, um, the privacy, everything needs to be accounted for. But you have to have an understanding of what's going on. And I always have the feeling that it's a in the EU it's a bit different than in the US. And I really want to hear what you think about that. But there was one more question that you asked. What is the I would say the biggest impact that the AI Act will have in the EU is on the GDPR side of things. And I really feel that GDPR and AI will go hand in hand. Others will follow as well. You've got NIS and NIS 2 is coming up. You've got DORA that's coming up. Everything will be tied together. But for now, I think GDPR is the biggest of the things that will be impacted by the AI Act. But let me hear your story of on the US part of things.
Oh, Ariane, come on. What's all this regulatory talk? Don't you know that we As Silicon Valley entrepreneurs and the smartest people in the room know better what we should be doing with this than you do, we'll just give it unfettered access to your data and we'll crawl everywhere all over the internet to be able to find out all this data. And we can use it in ways that you couldn't even possibly imagine. And never mind the fact that our algorithm's doing things that it really shouldn't be doing over here in the corner. That's not important right now. What's important is that you shouldn't tell us what we should be doing with our software.
Yeah.
That pretty much sums up exactly how everybody feels about this. You know, it's like being in a family where one of your parents is overly permissive to the point of basically ruining your life, and the other one is what feels to you like an overbearing authoritarian person who in reality is a reasonable person who just wants to keep you safe. I'll let you figure out which parent is which in this particular case. Look, the fact that the companies are basically working hand in glove with the regulators tells me that they understand that they've got issues that they need to solve, because it's one thing to deploy this stuff across the US and see how it's being used, and the fact that you can get around a lot of these regulatory things by oh well, a lot of this traffic passes through the US, so we'll just examine it when it gets here. The fact that the EU is willing to tap the brakes a little bit and say, hold on, we need to have some assurances here. Because I will say this, ever since GDPR came out and all of the things that have followed it, yes, the whole cookie pop-up thing is damned annoying whenever you go to a website, but that should be a warning to you about how much information that everyone is collecting. And the fact that they have to notify you, and it was just easier for them to do that, and that it was cheaper to put a pop-up everywhere no matter what than just to do a geolocation and figure out if you're in the EU, or you're coming from a browser that has an EU identification string, that they should pop this up should tell you exactly where they're at with this. AI isn't making things any easier. And yes, like when you read the EULAs for a lot of this stuff, oh my God, it is insane. There was a story we didn't even get a chance to cover this week where NVIDIA is actually arguing that a lot of these black market book pirating sites are not actually black market book pirating sites because the content, yada, yada. Basically, what they're saying is that we might have accidentally scraped like Z library and added all of that content into our algorithm. And we don't want to have to face a copyright claim by the book's author that we included it in there when we probably really shouldn't have. So please don't think that we're doing anything bad, but also we want to continue to be able to do this in the future. So I don't think that this should be a full copyright claim. Maybe we can give them some pennies on the dollar. I mean, it's not like Nvidia can afford it, right? They're only worth what, nearly $3 trillion right now. This is where we get into that really messy kind of middle ground. Look, I know I've used AI recently to do a lot of really cool stuff. Like I did a video transcription and then I fed the transcription to ChatGPT and I said, hey, summarize this for me so that I don't have to wade through like 45 minutes of video to figure out what's going on here. That's a powerful use of AI. But now the AI system has that script. So who owns it? Does the transcript belong to me as the person who recorded the video? Does the transcript belong to ChatGPT who summarized it for me? Does it belong to some other system that I'm not aware of? Until we can get all this stuff sorted out, we are in a very precarious position. And all you got to do, ignore all the other data protection, like identity management type stuff. All you got to do is look at the AI art stuff. If you trained the system on a bunch of other people's copyrighted art and then it started producing art that was similar but not identical to the other copyrighted art, who owns the copyright? Is it a derivative work? Is it something that I should be able to open up? Well, I know what the US is going to say. We're going to shoot our guns in the air like it's the Wild West and go, yeehaw, we don't care about no rules around here. This is like Tombstone. Whereas the EU is going to fold their arms over their chest and go, you really should be paying those creators for what they've created and things like that. But I don't know. Am I being a little bit too laissez-faire with the rules over here?
I don't know. It probably it will be in the middle, right? And it will probably go that way in the end. In the beginning, the EU will force a lot. The US will do whatever you said, and they will probably be shooting in the air. Yeah, probably. But I think the good thing is that the EU wants to find a common ground and make sure that everybody is protected in some way. Um, will it will it be misused? Yes, of course. Will there be things where we say, yeah, we should have paid the original creator of it? Probably. But in the end, will it boil down to a industry that can do things together and make a better world? Probably. Do we still should we still have a very good look at what AI is doing, what it can do, and what it will do in the future? Absolutely. And are there regulations that need to be in place for that? Absolutely. Because we are talking about infringement, we're talking about who owns the stuff, but that's just the beginning. We're just at the beginning of AI, and there's a lot more coming. And I think the regulation should be even more focused on that than the AI that we have right now, which there is some potential in it, but the things that will come from AI will probably be much more regulated than this.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's going to have to be a middle ground, and we're going to have to do a little bit more investigating to find it, because all or nothing is not the way that this is going to go, and that's why the companies are actively involved in the regulatory process, is because they know that if they get in now and they work with regulators, maybe they can come out of this not having the screws tightened down so much that they squeak.